The country, drivers like this are reducing their chances of an accident by up to 70%, and not by something they'll do, but rather you'll do. This video is about installing the Eaton Vorad EVT 300 collision warning system. It's about giving the driver the extra split second he needs, just one swipe of the wipers, to read a dangerous situation. It's about saving a truck, and maybe saving a life. The purpose of this video is to familiarize you with the Eaton Vorad EVT 300 collision warning system, to help you see the installation process start to finish. And while it's a good investment of your time, it does not replace the system installation guide. Your installation guide is the complete and final authority on system installation. Use it and follow each step closely. Okay, let's start by taking a look at system components. One box will contain the Central Processing Unit, or CPU. This is the brain of the system. A second box contains the antenna assembly. You may or may not have also ordered the optional antenna mounting plate. A third box contains the driver display unit, which mounts in the cab to alert the driver to danger. You probably also ordered a side sensor, which can mount on the right or left side of the truck, and the cab-mounted side sensor display unit. You'll also find the system harness, protective looms, grommets, and mounting hardware. Antenna bumpers are optional. There are several tools that you will need or find useful to install the system. Most importantly, you'll need the ProLink 9000 diagnostic tool equipped with the Eaton Vorad diagnostic cartridge. The ProLink and cartridge is available from an MPSI distributor. You'll also need a digital level and a 4 to 6 foot long straight edge. Tools you might have handy include a can of alcohol-based solvent to clean various surfaces during installation, the optional antenna mounting template, or make your own, a nut set or riv nut tool, and a pair of duckbill vice grips. Okay, let's get started. We'll use a conventional cab to demonstrate installation. Note, follow the same steps to install the system on a cabover. Start by verifying the angle of the shop floor. Most installers check the frame rails. The truck must be level for successful antenna alignment. Next, measure and mark the middle point of the front of the truck. Then drill the holes necessary to mount the antenna hardware. The optimal front antenna mounting height is between 15 and 33 inches above the ground. See your installation guide. Before mounting the antenna, pass the antenna harness through a hole cut for it and attach the connector. On thick composite or metal bumpers, the antenna can be mounted directly onto the truck. However, on vehicles with thin fairings, you must use the optional antenna mounting plate. Mount the antenna and plate directly to the superstructure behind the fairing. Standoffs may be required for proper installation. Note, the antenna must be mounted on the center line of the truck, low enough to allow the hood to open freely. If the license plate is in the way, move it to either side or below the antenna. It may, in some cases, be necessary to cover the tow bar holes when mounting the antenna. To properly align the antenna top to bottom, use a digital level to aim the antenna 1 degree downward from vertical. Set the position by tightening the screws on one side of the housing. To align the antenna azimuth position, to ensure the antenna is pointing straight ahead from the centerline side of the truck, center a straight edge across its face and measure the distance from each end of the straight edge to features common to both sides of the truck. See your installation guide for complete instructions. Finally, attach the antenna fairing. And if you ordered them, the protective bumpers. The optional side sensor detects motion from 2 to 10 feet, one highway lane, relative to the surface on which it is mounted. That means you must mount the sensor further out than any surrounding surface. On this truck, the sensor works well mounted under the cab lip, or alternatively, out of the way on the cab steps. In both cases, the installer fashioned a simple but strong vibration-free bracket to mount the sensor. Factory manufactured side sensor brackets are available from Eaton Vorad. There are several mounting options for both conventional and cab-over trucks. The optimal side sensor mounting height is between 22 and 36 inches above the ground. Just be sure to avoid surfaces subject to vibration. Again, see your installation guide. The central processing unit must be installed where it can be kept dry, and this is important, where it can be positioned to maintain a flat, horizontal, or vertical orientation, plus or minus 3 degrees. Even on true 90-degree vertical surfaces, the unit cannot be tilted more than 3 degrees left to right. Note, each CPU orientation has a different part number and a decal with an up arrow to indicate the correct mounting position for that unit. Options include the cab wall, as on this truck, or the cab floor, out of the way of traffic, vertical firewalls, and so on. Note, remember that under the dash and doghouse installations must be horizontal or vertical within 3 degrees. The driver display unit should be mounted on the dash, in the line of sight of the road, and where the driver can easily reach its controls. Be sure to first clean the surface area, then carefully press the display into place. The mounting tape is very strong and will give you just one opportunity for correct placement. Note, choose a spot where it will be easy to feed the system harness up to the back of the display. The optional side sensor display should be mounted in line with the driver's view of the side mirrors. If possible, use existing attaching hardware to mount the display bracket. Again, refer to your installation guide. The system harness connects all components to the CPU and the unit itself to the truck electrical system. The installation guide provides detailed procedures for connecting the harness, but there are a few keys to remember. Typically, 6 wires connect the system to the truck. 4 of these wires connect to sister wires in the truck electrical system. The right turn signal wire, for example, connects to the right turn signal circuit. The system ground connects to the vehicle ground, and so on. Note, the harness can be ordered with an optional wire that would connect to the left turn signal circuit when a left side sensor is to be installed. This twisted pair of wires connects to the truck's 2 J1587 diagnostic wires. Trucks with electronic engines will have a diagnostic connector in place, and you simply connect the wires to it. On trucks with non-electronic engines, add a diagnostic connector if one is not in place, and then connect the wires. Follow your system installation and vehicle guides. If the truck has a non-electronic engine, you must add 2 wires to the system harness. These added wires are necessary to connect the system to the vehicle speedometer. Refer to your installation guide. Further, if the vehicle has a non-electronic speedometer, you must splice a signal generator, also called a TACGen, into the speedometer cable between the speedometer and transmission. To install the rest of the harness, use standard vehicle wiring procedures. Again, refer to the installation guide. The key is to know in advance which part of the harness is going where. Start by placing the end of the harness that connects to the CPU next to, but not into, the unit. Note, connecting the harness to the CPU prior to or during installation risks shorting and damaging system electronics. During installation, look for and use existing knockout holes whenever possible. Route and tie wrap the harness along existing hoses and wires. Note, when tying down the side sensor wire on a cab-over, be sure to route it through the pivot point area so that the cab can be tilted forward for maintenance. When using an existing hole or drilling a new one, install the grommets provided to keep the harness from chafing and possibly shorting out. When the harness has been safely stowed and each component connected, ground the harness to the chassis and then, and only then, connect the harness to the CPU. The final step is to verify system performance using the ProLink 9000 tool. It connects into the truck diagnostic interface. Begin by checking that the software is configured for the system as installed on the truck. See your installation guide to change software settings. Next, follow the guide to check out individual components whose performance can be verified with the truck at rest. Certain procedures, however, must be conducted on the road with the aid of an assistant. These tests include verifying that the vehicle speedometer and system speed readout match outputs, that the gyro registers the correct polarity, positive while the truck is turning to the right, and that the antenna tracks vehicles dead ahead and not in lanes to either side. Upon completing the road test, make any necessary adjustments. Tighten all 4 screws of the antenna, and the installation is complete. One last point. Key information related to operating the system is also included in the Driver Reference and Installation Guide. Error logs, fault codes, and more. So consider keeping it with the truck. Thank you for your attention. As an installer of the Eaton Vorad EVT 300 collision warning system, you are about to serve a key role, perhaps a life-saving role, in guiding your truck or fleet